Good morning, and thank you very much, Brian, for your kind words. And thank you very much to Ibec for inviting me. We are very pleased to engage Ibec at the OECD on a regular basis. Ibec is our key business partner through the BIAC Forum. So I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very pleased to be here, especially today, at the time when Ireland is finally coming out of the Troika program and has embarked on recovery. Maybe Ireland is showing us all how to exit the crisis. So will recovery finally take hold in 2014? We believe so. There are several encouraging signs, and we predicted when we published our OECD Economic Outlook last November that the world economy would be recovering. In the meantime, economic growth has strengthened in the United States. GDP could increase by 3% there this year. Economic growth has also strengthened in the UK. The UK economy grew by 1.9% last year, the fastest rate since 2007, and we expect growth in the UK of 2.4% this year. Both are important export markets for you, and these recoveries are therefore good news. Activity is also picking up in the euro area, although at a weaker pace. So it's clear that Ireland is back on its feet thanks to good government policies and the ongoing effort and patience of the Irish people. Nonetheless, challenges remain, as the Taoiseach said. Much remains to be done to generate strong growth and progress towards full employment and prosperity. Ireland is well positioned in the innovation space, but not in the entrepreneurship space. Another challenge is to help those left behind by the crisis, notably the many job seekers and the heavy indebted families. It makes good business sense to include them all on the path to prosperity. Economic indicators have been pointing in the right direction lately. Consumer confidence, that you see in the picture here, has improved sharply, reaching its highest level since 2007. Higher consumer confidence is very important because it means that consumers are feeling good about the economy and the job market, and they are ready to spend more. Domestic demand is a key driver of growth, even in Ireland, a very open economy, especially important for services sectors. It has been estimated that 75% of private sector workers are employed in firms that do not export, such as retail trade, hotels, restaurants, transportation. Recovery of confidence can therefore lead to a virtuous circle between consumer spending and job creation, with consumer spending fueling job creation and job creation fueling consumer spending. The Irish plane needs two engines firing off at the same time, the engine of exports and the engine of domestic demand. Job creation has turned positive once again, with a gain of 58,000 jobs over 1 year in the third quarter last year. Thankfully, unemployment has declined from its peak of 15%, it now stands at 2.3%, however too high and above the average in OECD countries. The successful exit from the Troika program and the economic recovery have improved the mood of investors toward Ireland. And the flotation of sovereign bonds was oversubscribed many times in January. The bond yield has declined, and you see on the chart here is the spread between Euro bond yield and the German bond yield. As you can see, it's back to below 2%. The decision of Moody's to return Ireland to investment grade with a positive outlook has helped a great deal. Overall, we expect GDP to grow by nearly 2% this year, slightly more than 2% in 2015. These projections they were published last November, so they're a bit out of date, but they remain in line with the consensus of forecasters. They are subject to downside risks, in particular regarding the situation in emerging markets. But it could also be that we are underestimating the strength of euro recovery. Indeed, Ibec expect growth of 3%, more than about 2%. So I hope we are wrong and you are right, and the economy will be stronger than we expect now. The recovery is welcome, but we need stronger growth to return to where activity would have been if it had remained on the trend observed during the 45 years preceding the crisis. So this chart shows the green curve is actual activity, the level of GDP. The dashed black line is where activity would have been if the economy had remained on the same path as during the 45 years preceding the crisis. So as you can see, the recovery is welcome, but we are below what you could call the level of activity that would have been reached without the crisis. This trend is perhaps not the new normal, but stronger growth is needed to restore full employment and bring the debt ratio. Indeed, growth is the best way to reduce indebtedness. Economic growth is a complex process which depends on many drivers, but most of us would agree that the capacity of the economy, capacity of the business sector, your capacity to bring innovative products to the market, and the dynamism of entrepreneurship play key roles. Fortunately, Ireland is a very attractive place where to innovate. It is generally easy to do business thanks to light regulation. The government provides a lot of support to innovators, mainly in the form of a tax incentive for research and development. Firms have access to a large pool of students well-trained by your fine universities. There are many research centers, which are shown on this picture here, with which firms can collaborate. And Ireland is very attractive to high-tech foreign direct investment, in part thanks to your low corporate income tax rate. The Innovation Awards offered by the Irish Times and the Intertrade Ireland are a testimony to this innovation dynamism. While large businesses are doing well, there's nonetheless a lack of entrepreneurship. And that may come as a surprise to some of you. But when I look at the data, the birth rate of new businesses, which is the ratio of business creation to the stock of existing businesses, is actually one of the lowest in the euro area. Young firms are very important because young firms create most of the new jobs, as the Taoiseach said. Research recently conducted at the OECD suggests that the age of companies matters very much for job creation. Young firms of 5 years or less create most new jobs, as well as successful startups, the so-called gazelles, which bring new products to the market. A lot is already happening to stimulate the creation of new innovative businesses, such as the creation of the medical device clusters in Galway, the pharmacy and health hub in Cork, the agribusiness authority in Takask, and the Computer Creative Alliance in Dublin. But more could be done. For instance, access to government financial support, while working well for large firms, remains too complicated, and simplification, which has already started, needs to continue. Support is mostly provided in the form of the R&D tax credit, which is not the best way to help small businesses. A different balance between the R&D tax credit and direct support to small firms is needed. In general, small young firms have difficulties accessing credit, especially in these days where bank credit remains tight. Government agencies have stepped up their contribution to venture capital, but there might be a case for reviving the Dublin stock market, make SME listing easier, and boost IPO activity. Finally, broadband is expensive and slow for small firms. The same is true for electricity, which is expensive and difficult to access. This needs to change. Let me finish with some words regarding those who have been left behind and hit by the crisis. Job creation has regained momentum, but the unemployment rate is still too high. About 400 individuals remain on the live register, about 300,000 job seekers. The crisis has hit many young people, with 30% of those in the age group 20 to 30 neither employed nor in education or in training, one of the highest in Europe. 30% of young people not in education, training, or employment. The main concern is for the long-term job seekers, as they risk losing their skills, becoming discouraged, and stop looking for a job altogether. High levels of household debt are also a concern. Heavily indebted families, as shown on this graph here, one of the highest household debt to income ratio in the euro area. The OECD currently works on these issues with an agenda of making growth more inclusive. Inclusive growth is a new vision that combines strong economic growth with improvement that matters for people's quality of life, such as jobs, opportunities, education, and health. The intention is to create more and better quality jobs, particularly for the young. Indeed, inclusive growth makes good business sense to avoid the scarring effect of unemployment. It makes good business sense to preserve the employability of workers. Indeed, when the recovery comes, there may be shortages of skills if we don't preserve the employability of those who are not employed today. We need to retain a pool of talented individuals available to work. It makes also good business sense to look after the well-being of workers, because workers who feel well are more productive. Your government is working in that direction with important and well-thought-out policies. Let me mention the Youth Guarantee Initiative undertaken with the European Union. The objective is to offer young people a training program, work experience, or education within 4 months of leaving school or entering unemployment. We just published our set of recommendations for Ireland to make the best of the Youth Guarantee Initiative. Let me also mention the efforts made to improve the matching between the supply and the demand of skills. Indeed, in the past, young workers were trained in skills that were not in high demand, so there was a mismatch between the supply and demand of skills. Employers, trainers, government agencies need to sit around the table at the local level in a public-private partnership to encourage training that results in actual jobs in fast-expanding sectors. Let me also mention efforts to strengthen the efficiency of labor market programs through strict evaluation, randomized experiments, and other research to make sure that taxpayer money actually leads to real jobs. Finally, I would like to mention the role of social innovators and social entrepreneurs, such as those who recently received the awards of social entrepreneurship in Ireland. They all make important contributions to bridging gaps in the Irish society. They deserve our support, including our financial support. So to summarize, I think the recovery is underway. Finally, we are on the path back to prosperity. There are many challenges that remain. Entrepreneurship is one of these challenges. We need to do more to help young firms and gazelles access capital, including to access government funding. And we should not forget about those who were hit by the crisis, the long-term job seekers, and indebted families. Thank you very much for your attention. More information can be found on the OECD website and our recently published survey of Ireland.